My name is Rafael, you're watching Rock and Roll Garage, and today I'm going to show you a really interesting thing, which is when Ronnie James Dio praised Loverboy's vocalist Mike Reno. That's right, that's really happening. And today I'm going to show you what Dio said about him. But first, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, and leave a comment. Well, Steve Newton is a legendary journalist, and he had the chance to interview everybody from rock and roll, heavy metal, especially in the 80s, and he has a really incredible archive. And reading the interviews he conducted, and I found this a while ago, which is a really interesting thing, that Ronnie James Dio, the legendary Rainbow, Black Sabbath and Dio vocalist, the heavy metal, one of the greatest heavy metal vocalists of all time, said about Mike Reno, who is the vocalist, the frontman of Loverboy, the incredible Canadian, let's say, pop rock group. They played rock and roll, a more commercial kind of rock and roll. They had fantastic hits like Working for the Weekend and The Kid Is Hot Tonite, for example. And back in 1985, when Dio was promoting the Sacred Heart tour, he gave an interview to Steve Newton, and he praised Loverboy. Steve Newton asked him who were some of the current singers that he liked, and this is what he said about Mike Reno. Me, I don't really admire an awful lot of singers. No, I don't really. I think it's because I know what they're doing and what they are either capable or incapable of. I don't hear all that many great singers. I'll tell you who is a good singer, a Canadian lad, Mike Reno. I think Mike's a really good singer. The music from Loverboy is, a lot softer and a lot more commercially oriented than the music that people like myself make. But he's got great pipes, a lot of control, good technique. I think he's a really good singer. As far as admiring or idolizing or learning or being influenced by others, no, I'm not really. And Mike Reno obviously is not the only good singer out there today. But just off the top of my head, I think Mike's a really good singer. And I'm not saying it because he's Canadian, because there's happened to be a hell of good American singers and British singers. In the same interview, Ronnie James Dio also praised Barbra Streisand. He believed she was also an incredible singer. And, it's just a wonderful piece of what Ronnie James Dio said over the years. And I think it's something that most Black Sabbath, Rainbow, Dio fans would never expect that Dio would say, because of what he represents to heavy metal music, and to think that he liked other kinds of music, it's not something that is in the, don't even cross the mind of most of the fans. And when I read this a few years ago, I thought it was just fantastic, because it shows that, and this is real, most of the heavy metal, hard rock musicians, they don't listen just hard rock and heavy metal. They were not influenced only by hard rock and heavy metal bands and artists. They like to listen to other stuff. Tony Iommi, for example, once said that he loves Michael Sembello's Maniac, for example, and he likes to listen to other kinds of stuff, and he doesn't like to listen to heavy metal when he's not working in Black Sabbath's music, for example. So it's just a wonderful example of how we need to listen to everything, I love heavy metal, I love Ronnie James Dio, I love Rainbow, I love Black Sabbath. Black Sabbath is my favorite band. I love Dio's work. But I also love Loverboy. I think they're a fantastic band. They were formed in British Columbia, Canada, back in Mike Reno was born in British Columbia, Canada, back in 1955. He fronted other bands, including Moxie, before helping to form Loverboy. And he also sang for the Canadian band Hammersmith in 1976. In 1984, he recorded as a solo artist the song Almost Paradise, which had also Ann Wilson, the hard vocalist. The track appeared in the movie Footloose, and among other famous songs by Loverboy, besides working for The Weeknd and The Kid is Hot Tonight, some other great tracks, if you haven't listened to them, are Turn Me Loose, loving every minute of it, and Heaven in Your Eyes. This one was part of the movie Top Gun with Tom Cruise. The group was formed in 1979, and except for a brief hiatus from 1988 to 1991, the band continued to perform live and to record, and they are active to this day. You can see Mike Reno playing. You should check their schedule in their official website. Loverboy is a fantastic band, and it's really cool to see that Ronnie James Dio like them and like Mike Reno, which is I think they're a very underrated band, and there are so many Canadian bands that are totally underrated. I remember that I'm from Brazil, and I remember I was an intern in a company about 10 years ago, and everything was blocked in my computer. I couldn't access to social media or anything, just the email and stuff from work. And at the time, there was no Spotify, there was no, I could listen to music only through the internet at the time. I didn't have a streaming service. And I remember that I used to hear a lot of radios, rock and roll radios. And I tried to find a website from a rock and roll radio which was not blocked where I worked. And the only one I could find was from a Toronto station that I don't remember, I think is Q107, if I'm not mistaken. So I used to hear that station, I practically listened to that station for like 2 years when I was interning this company. And I learned so much about Canadian rock and roll and had the chance to see how many forgotten or not very famous outside Canada bands that exist. Canadians rock and roll music is just fantastic. So if you don't know a lot of bands from Canada, go check them out. If you want to read more, go to the description, visit the article wrote about it. There you can find a link to the interview conducted by Stephen Newton with Ronnie James Dio back in '85. Don't forget to like the video, leave your comment, tell me if you like Loverboy or not, and let's talk about it. Thank you for watching, and I see you later.